Hey,
Hey
Todd.
guys, hey Steve.
Hey,
Hey
hey.
Todd. How's it going? Hey Ashley.
Hey,
Hey
Jeff.
Paul. Hey Mark. Hey Barry. How you
Hi
doing,
there.
Alan?
Morning. Good morning,
Hey
everybody.
Katrine. Hey
Hey, Alan.
Lucas. Hey Jeff. Hey Sunter. Rabino. Hey, Mafi, how are you? Hey Steven.
Hi.
Hey Rosemary. Hey
Hello.
Chris. How's it going? Lucas. Paul. Dale. Karen. How are you? I love that picture. Wow. Cows on a frozen
Good. I'm down in Arkansas, so we're totally snowed in. It's pretty wild.
I bet it is.
No
Yeah.
mail, no nothing in 10 days. It's like back
Yeah,
to the prairie.
yeah, no doubt. Like who's getting affected? Steve, I know you've been really affected by the storm, right? It's like,
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
elders, it's a disaster.
yeah,
It's,
totally.
it's pretty crazy. We finally have power, at least for a while, but then there's rumors that we may lose it for another 24. So
Another
Yeah.
24. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
yeah, they're
In
really
Dallas, they did rolling blackouts, but it's a little bit like Russian roulette. It rolls till it drops on your house, and then it ain't rolling anymore. But
for sure.
Oh man, that's crazy.
yeah,
Hey
hard
Eric.
to build the
Being ready for
infrastructure
Hey
for
water.
something
Dale.
like this.
Hey Jeff Bojar. Hey Arthur. How's it going? All right, we got good number of folks here. Let's just wait a couple more minutes and we'll. Hey Alistair, how's it going? We got Lisa. Lots of good, great folks today. So thanks for joining. Let's maybe wait a minute or two and then we can jump in. Yeah, actually, as we jump in, just come some announcements. So we just finished a couple podcasts. I know one with Bryan Pena and one with Steve Hatfield. Those are really great. So if you guys get a chance, check them out, and would be great if you guys could kind of help amplify those. But really good conversations. So that's happening, and then. I don't know. We have everybody. I think. I know Bryan's going to join today too because he's going to talk through some of the accreditation stuff. So.
Yep, he's joining right now.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Yeah. Well, let's maybe should we start by jumping out into our breakouts? My favorite, my favorite time of the day. Actually, favorite part of the week. Actually.
All right, here we go. Let's see here. All right, so these will be adding a few more people here. Hang on.
Yeah.
We'll have about 2 people in each room. A couple rooms may have 3 people just based on the numbers. So we'll see you all in about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks. Exactly. I'm always into that. Well, that was super fun as always. Thanks for starting the day off like that. Man, it's always so great. Any new faces? Anybody? I mean, the last couple times we've given the opportunity for people to talk for a minute on what they're doing. But anybody hasn't had that opportunity to do that yet? Speak up. No?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, hey.
My name is Julida. I think it has turned around here.
Oh,
Sunter
yeah.
Julida.
Hey,
So
Julida.
I'm of course, I'm coming from Hamburg, Germany. So I think most of you are from the US. So it's a little bit later but that's not my backyard. It's just a photograph from a seaside, so in the north. It's the first time to join, so I'm really delighted to be here and to learn. And I came across because all the remote working stuff is for me interesting, as I'm a vice president in the social media network comparable to LinkedIn, which I just explained some minutes ago, but smaller because it's only covering the German speaking countries.
Great.
And as all of you pandemic, we are all working remote since 1 year. And of course, we are also looking how to attract talents, mainly in the developer area, and to bring them from all over the world to work for us. So we have also, as many of you may be, a talent problem, because attracting talent and retain them, it becomes now really competitive market. And then of course, how do you keep this remote community together? So I'm very interested to learn and to listen today. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. That's awesome. Actually, I had a great podcast yesterday with Tim Prom, who's vice president in charge of digital innovation at Kelly, who lives just north of Hamburg. So it was really great stuff, and looking forward to kind of punching that out. So anybody else that hasn't had a chance to introduce themselves? No. Okay. Well, cool. Well, thanks for being here. Hey, so I thought I'd start off and just talk a little bit about what's happening at the OA level. So we're, down the road. We had a couple more meetings with book publishers. We've got 4 book publishers that are interested in the book. Pretty stoked about that. I don't know if you guys, did I show you guys the framework model? Have I walked through that with people? I think I did. Yeah. So we're working on that. I mean, the way I look at it is the framework is going to be fueling the book, obviously, and then the framework is also going to be, the driver for training certification on the OA side, which would be for coaches and consultants, and training certification for the CTW side, which will be for users in the marketplace. For demand side folks. One of the things I'm really excited about is Top Coders has sponsored, our OAQ in the past on the first attempt at doing this about a year and a half ago, and they've offered to sponsor that again. So we're going to use that as a way to really build this model out and make sure that we've got kind of some resources to help write and make sure that we've got the momentum there. So that's happening. Brandon, anything on your side, upcoming stuff or anything like that?
We're starting to, we're creating articles from our podcasts. So we're going to amplify the messaging from our podcast attendees onto Forbes and other platforms to get the word out. So be on the lookout for those. We'd love your help sharing and amplifying those things. And if you ever have any ideas, please send them my way.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, and also, I think, let's just jump into some of the CTW activities. So first of all, I want Bryan to take the stage and walk through some of the stuff he showed me yesterday. Bryan's been leading the charge on the accreditation, and I'm really, really excited about this. I mean, one of the ideas I think we've heard from the demand side is how do we get alignment on the enterprise readiness of platforms, right, and rank those things. And one of the inspirations for both Bryan and I have been the U.S. Green Builders Council. So you guys can check that out. Brandon, maybe you could put that link in there. That's the lead certification for buildings, kind of the platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and then lots of other kinds of training. But they've done an amazing job over a couple decades. But Bryan and I had a great conversation. Bryan, I know you're always so humble and you never talk about your experience, but Bryan is the man when it comes to these kinds of things. He was at SIA forever and came up with the CCWP and, was at the core of their efforts in the gig economy conference and things like that. So leaning on Bryan to figure this stuff out and lead the charge is just, I'm so excited and really honored to have that opportunity. So anyway, Bryan, take it away. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm muted. I was just going to say that next time I'm going to invite my mom to this call because you always say such nice things. I have nothing else to add to that. Nice things. I have nothing else to add to that. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about Open Talent Platform certification. We started this, we kicked this off a while ago. We're putting some arms and legs around what it may look like. So the call today, we're going to talk a little bit about the framework, and also I'm interested in volunteers joining the work team. So this is just an update on where we're going, kind of the high level thoughts, and also a call for people to help participate in helping us redefine what the next stage of work and innovation is going to be. Okay, so the biggest thing is to recognize that we're dealing with a ever-changing landscape. People on this phone are here for a reason. You all equally share the passion to redefine the world of work and that world of change in how people work. Right, the mechanisms by which organizations and individuals interact to exchange competencies for currency is changing. That change is being driven, at least now, by a couple of core things. One, obviously, is the pandemic. The pandemic has rapidly accelerated and challenged the assumptions of what it means to have a job and what it means to work, and we see that in many different ways. Technology is getting easier to implement, execute, and faster, and it's really infecting more and more portions about the way people live their everyday lives, and that is going to obviously impact work. Talent in all of its forms is growing, both demographically and in terms of the importance of skills and education, and challenging the importance of someone's resume over the deliverance of results. And then finally, governmental policy. Across the globe, policies are driven towards a work model and an engagement model that doesn't exist. and it's not necessarily friendly towards traditional open talent solutions. So challenging that is going to be sort of a big deal moving forward. Open talent itself is very broad. It's incredibly tough to categorize. In the past, people dealt with employed or not. You see, be an employee or an apprentice or an intern. But then across the board, you see dozens of evolving mechanisms of open talent. So one of the core challenges that we have is simply an industry standardized definition of what the heck is open talent, period. We can see that being a challenge of just simply looking on the call. All of the 34 people in the call or so are from different modes of the open talent ecosphere. So in terms of what we're trying to do in this particular project, we kind of try to set our stake in the ground of what that would look like. And when we think about how we look at the future of work, it's this quote that I probably, some of you who have seen me speak or do my keynotes are probably just stick a C in this. But to me, it really, really outlines the future of work. And this is a quote from a panel I did a number of years ago from one of the HR executives at Microsoft. And I'm going to go ahead and read it because I think it's really important. At our company, we are interested in getting the very best and brightest to work here. We feel the level of person working at Microsoft creates a distinct competitive and cultural advantage. Why on earth would I limit the ways in which I engage them? And that right there is open talent in a nutshell. It's building strategies and building tools and techniques that allow organizations to meet people where they are to solve the complex business challenges of tomorrow. And that's where the certification project comes in. We're going to do that with the goal of maximizing the opportunities for people to work independently, directly with organizations. So the talent engagement models and tools, it's a very crowded landscape. This is from Brandon talking about all of the thousands of, just an example of the thousands of different work modes that are available to the organization of tomorrow, from business services, crowdsourcing, to general tasks like Freelancer, TaskRabbit, or Upwork, or many of the folks on the phone. It's an incredibly crowded space. And so what we're trying to think about and how we define the construct of the Open Talent Certification Program is we're going to focus on platforms that primarily connect buyers and services using a matching technology. So that's the framework, and we're going to build a set of standards for those buyers or for those providers to really achieve some level of scale. Okay, and so who do we have in this space that we would think that would be? These are just some examples: online staffing, online work services, freelancer management systems, crowdsourcing, talent pooling technology, expert networks, and the like. All of these are mechanisms that connect enterprises to individuals directly, usually through a technology, or almost always through a technology platform. So the problem statement: the future of talent management includes the adoption of open talent solutions, but the pace of adoption will continue to be constrained as enterprises struggle to differentiate amongst providers and solutions. Certification resolves that. Providers need to be able to manage to minimum standards of maturity, service delivery, information security, and operational risk, as well as the eventual development of solution roadmaps that are based on standardized criteria for industries to grow. So basically, also certification is meant to solve that as well by establishing a set of goals and standards that they can meet to. So certification is not meant to set a high standard, it's meant to set the minimum standard, the 3-foot pluralism. And then new technologies, the inevitable new technologies, need to be able to build from a knowable standard set to achieve adoption at scale. So that's a problem statement. That's the issues we're trying to resolve. We're using, like John mentioned, the LEED certification as the model for the accreditation basis. In the beginning, it's going to be a very, very simple or relatively straightforward process. We're not going to really over-engineer it. But eventually, if you look at LEEDs and all of the ancillary solutions around LEEDs, that's where we see this solution going, is something along the lines of creating the LEED certification for the open talent industry. And we might start with particularly with open talent in the beginning, but we might expand to other levels of service provision. But in the beginning, we're just going to start small and not over-engineer it. So in that regard, we're going to think about 5 particular dimensions of the decision, meaning 5 criteria, 5 large buckets that we're going to evaluate these different solutions on. 1, trust, security, privacy, and compliance. The core value unit of any platform is going to be the provision of trust. Without trust and security, the whole industry is going to die. So we want to be able to build a set of standards built around the security of the technology, the fiscal health of delivery if they're handling money. How are they compliant with data rules, data privacy rules, and engaging compliant employment models? Then we're going to look at the management team and the industry focus and the demonstrated depth of solution. Is this a new solution? Are they doing something that is unique to their particular industry? Does the management team have experience and it's consistent? Have they done it for a long time? Who's backing them? That sort of thing. Those are intangible. Then we're going to focus on the enterprise engagement. What sort of value adds are they bringing to their enterprise relationships? What are the things that they're creating in terms of their community? How are they managing the enterprise client experience? How is that differentiated? Then we're going to think about, and this is something we're going to have to really get some art into, what is the matching progress and the evaluation algorithm? How are you measuring success? How are you developing? How are you leveraging those insights to create better outcomes over time? And then finally, we're going to focus on the experience of talent. How is the talent? How are you looking at leveraging the talent? What is their talent experience? And how committed are you as an organization to making them better at what they are, really creating a sticky environment for the talent? So those are the 5 high-level platform dimensions we're going to include. I went really fast, but I went fast because I really want to invite a lot of conversation. Any questions so far on the stuff I went through? All right. Well,
hey, Bryan, Pena, this is Jeff Bojar. I was just going to say, you know, from my experience, sort of standard setting in a highly disparate industry in the past, I really like the idea of just saying yes to everybody and having a sort of a minimum standard that meets each platform where they are, and then, you know, helps them level up and challenges them, rewards them to level up. But I really like that concept of like, let's just all level set here. Let's agree that it is, we can all get to this level, and then let's think about how we can build from there.
You know, when I first came up with some of the certifications when I was at SAA, the vision was an incredibly rigorous and difficult process, and it was about, you know, it was about really separating the wheat from the chaff. But as you really got into certification is not meant to do that, right? Certification is meant to establish a minimum standard of performance. So you know when someone has a given degree, that they have a minimum standard of understanding of business or a minimum standard of that. So certification is definitely meant at the beginning to establish that minimum standard. But I think we shouldn't be afraid of having an aspirational goal, but that's going to take some time to develop what that aspiration is. And that's what's exciting about this. I think we get to define what that looks like and create that industry standard that lives far beyond what we have. And we're all going to be sitting in our rocking chairs when we're old and gray thinking about that, and proud of those achievements. But that's a great comment, Jeff. Thank you.
Hey, Bryan. I really like this. I think it's a great framework. We just kicked off the advocacy group this week, and I didn't even get to make it, but that's a whole nother story. But I think we'll want to work with you a little bit on tweaking a couple of these a little bit. I like your last one on what you're bringing to the talent. I think there might be something about protection of workers as well that weave in, but I think you're well versed in all that. It's just finding the right places to
this is the skinny down version. John asked me to skinny it down. But you're right. This is definitely. I know I'm going to be missing things. That's why I'm putting it out here.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, there's probably some of these that are important for enterprise-facing story, and some that'll be important on the crowd-facing. They're still all part of the equation, but the way we talk about it might change differently.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Thanks for all the work here.
Totally agree.
Yeah, some great comments in the chat as well. Anybody want to, like Arthur?
Oh, I didn't even see the chat.
Yeah, lots of good stuff.
Okay. So I will. There's so much stuff here. I will have to come back to later. So
yeah, no worries.
Brand, just send me the chat stuff. So next steps, we're going to assemble the certification work group. We're going to schedule the sprint solution, and we're going to finalize the timeline. I want to move fast. I think that I committed to John a certain timeline. I want to hit it. So ideal participants in the group, crowdsourced, solution designers, enterprise clients, leaders and laggards, people who are behind the curve and people who are ahead of it, talent participants, OA member volunteers, folks on the phone, and then of course any CTW sponsors who are fiscal sponsors of CTW to make sure their perspective is heard. So things we're going to cover in the initial sprint meeting for those of you who are in agreement. Agreement scope. You know, it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole and completely lose your side of your future. You know, what are we going to do? Get some alignment and agreement on that. base criteria. Each of these 5 criteria, I already have 5 sub-criteria, and the real magic is going to be, one, in agreement on not just what those are, but also what are the gradations of evaluation. You know, what is a level 1 versus a level 5? That's going to be a challenge. And then that is it. Like I see at the bottom, what is a 3-foot hurdle in all 5 dimensions? And then finally, we're going to have some standards as deliverable defined. Is it a 4-page Excel sheet that someone fills in followed by an interview? What does that look like? At least at a high level, what do we think that might look like? So those are some of the things we're going to focus on. In a timeline, you know, I mentioned an agreement, a relatively aggressive timeline. I'd love to finalize the criteria and framework, have this done, ready for public consumption by the end of March, would be idealized. So with that being said, let's get going. If I already asked for questions, if anybody needs questions, feel free to send me a chat or reach out to me. This is my contact information. If I'm not connected to on LinkedIn, let's get connected. If you want to connect, there's my Calendly link. Let's make it happen, everybody. So with that, I went through my time really fast, but any other questions?
Yeah, great job, Bryan. I love where this is going and such deep thoughts. And I really encourage, I hope we can get a really
happen, everybody. So with that, I went through my time really fast, but any other questions?
Yeah, great job, Bryan. I love where this is going and such deep thoughts. And I really encourage, I hope we can get a really diverse community involved as the work stream. So anybody that's up for it, please be involved. I think this is an important process to make sure that, we can get everybody aligned. Our overall goal, right, is alignment and alignment to make sure that we're kind of aligned philosophically and then aligned around a framework and the words that we use. And then, obviously we've talked also about economic alignment as well, which we'll get to, down the road. But I think this is kind of the first step. This is like one of those big pillars, right? The accreditation is one, and then we've got the kind of training and certification as another big pillar. But Bryan, thanks so much, and we'll make sure that we get the chat over to you. And I saw some great stuff, like
good comments.
Yeah, John Healy, thanks for jumping in here. Your knowledge is amazing, and it'll be great
Absolutely.
to have you as a part of that. So, and that's just one of the folks that I saw who wanted to join. Well, awesome, that's great. Hey, Bryan showed the landscape we've been working on, and Catherine's been doing an excellent job on updating the landscape. Catherine, you want to just show people what we're where we're going with it, and kind of some of the advancements and a few of the choices.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, Bryan showed us sort of this carved out part of the external platforms from this previous landscape that we developed over the last few months. There's been a lot of feedback on the mural. We'll resend the link to the mural, but we made a few changes in the last week or so, and we just wanted to share those with you. Can you guys see this one?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the couple changes that we made so far, here, I'll make this a little bit bigger. We added a couple ways, and this is not finalized, it's just more of the structure to share with you, but we added sort of 3 ways to access open talent: do it yourself, internal management like COSI at NASA, and then we kept the aggregators and integrators like Diane's Shoshin Works and EY and Deloitte. And then we moved idea management and external platforms to the top. They were across the bottom, and they really kind of flow left to right. If you think about how people might want to engage with open talent, they might start with idea management, then potentially play with some internal platforms, and then move into external platforms. And then the last change that we really made here was we added this layer of freelance support. We have 2 buckets right now, one for advocacy and one for education and certification. But we'd love to see more buckets added here. And we have a few different design options for this page. We're trying to bring it in a little bit more to look and feel like other things that we've published in the past. And we'll find a way to put these up for you guys to vote on as far as designs. We'll put them back into the mural, and we'd love for you guys to continue just putting sticky notes or sending us feedback on things you'd like to see changed or suggestions you have for the landscape.
Thanks, Catherine. That's awesome. Yeah, some great progress there. And I think, there's so much more. I mean, obviously, as Bryan said, it's a very complicated space with lots and lots and lots of players. And so I think getting a document that at least, we might not be able to capture everything. It's a starting point for everybody to launch from. And so I'd love to get this out in the wild here really soon and launch it to the world so people can use it and break it and figure out, how we take it to the next level. But it's got to be a living document for sure. So thanks for that. Hey, Catherine or Stephanie, do you want to just chat just for a sec on, you guys have been doing some interesting LMS work, as a basis for the site. Any progress there you want to mention?
Sure. So I think the last time we were on, we talked about Podia, and Stephanie did a great demo of the structure. Essentially, all of you guys that have been involved in the development of CTW are working on all of the content that'll eventually be housed in a website of some kind. So we've been looking at different ones, different learning platforms. And the most recent one that we've looked at is LearnWorlds. And I'll just share that with you real quick. And LearnWorlds, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. This is just a shell, just to show that this is yet another platform we might want to look at. And it does seem like it could definitely work for our needs. We've got a place for about us. We've got a container for education, for coursework. We'll be able to filter by different types of courses, whether you're enrolled or not enrolled. You'll be able to flag what's popular. We'll have a place for advocacy where Steve's team can put their ideas. We'll have a list in place for events and a way to become a member of the CTW, choose a plan and book it. And of course, there will be different states and that type of thing that it supports, so that once you're logged in, you will see different customized content depending on your progress and your journey.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. I think there's, so much to do here and really interesting, opportunity to do that. And obviously we're creating kind of two different, learning paths, right? One for the demand side folks who want to learn how to use open talent tools, that will be in the CTW. And then on the open assembly side, trying to aggregate some training and certification for coaches and consultants. So we're all speaking the same language and using the same kind of tools when we go out and talk to folks. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. Hey, Mark Hanat, I know we had a great conversation. I don't know if are you on? Mark, are you on?
Yep, I'm here, John.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, Mark and I, we've been working and with this amazing group of folks on the education committee and made some really great progress. I don't know if you want to just talk about kind of what you're thinking and where we're going on that.
I will. First of all, I'd just like to say hello again to lots of familiar faces. I haven't had the opportunity to be on the calls for the last couple of months, but thank you for making the change of time so that on the third Thursday of the month, it's a much more civilized time for us in India. Julie, you noted that many people are in the US. Not all of us are. Some of us are even further east than you are. So yeah, we've made some progress, I think, on the education front, and we decided at the tail end of last year to sort of combine some of those work streams. And so Ashley and I have been working together. We identified the fact that if we were to go back to where Catherine was showing us that education section, there were two parts in there, one of which was courses and one of which is resources. And we felt that within that resources section, the case studies was an area that really sort of was at the confluence, if you will, of both the education and marketing activity. And so Ashley and I are going to work on a project, the objective of which is to get about a dozen case studies written by the same date that Bryan has put out there, i.e. the end of March. And there's really a kind of call to anybody who's on this call or part of the group who's got information or resources or data that they think would be useful as a case study. It may already exist as a case study, or it may be something which has the potential to be written into a case study. We see there being sort of two levels to that, one of which is that there might be a lengthy, detailed piece of content which perhaps sits behind a paywall, but that in essence, people should be able to see a précis of every piece of content, every case study in front of that paywall. So where we've got longer form existing case studies, stuff that perhaps came from NASA, for example, we're going to do a précis of that, a succinct synopsis of it, so that people can kind of get a flavour for that. My request would be that people think not only in terms of their successes, but I think there's a lot to be learned from scenarios that didn't particularly work, or where there were important lessons and then there was a reframing of the way in which that project or challenge was put out into the market. So if you've got case studies or things that you think would make good case studies, my request would be that they kind of get channeled through Catherine, and that she be the sort of keeper of that stuff. And then, as I say, Ashley and I are going to kind of work on two things really, one of which is the scripting of those, so that we've got consistency of language, which I think is an important piece of the puzzle. Secondly, that we've got some way of tagging and organizing and categorizing that work, so that people can sift through it and find it, and it's got some ordering to it. That's it from me. Ashley, did you want to add anything to that?
Nope, that's it. Like I said, I've gone through a couple of case studies right now just to identify some common language and some tagging, but I need more data. So yeah, please send them over to Catherine so we can start categorizing them and creating a format that is consistent.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks. I mean, I think this goes a long way. And thanks, Mark. Thanks, Ashley, for leading this. I think this goes a long way in creating consistent language as we talk about things, right? Because there's so many great case studies in the business, but when you look at all the case studies, they come from so many different places with so much different language that we can start making some consistency across the global community. I think it'll really help with the adoption. It'll get people into that mode. And obviously, this idea of kind of creating those case studies and then and all the great stuff behind those case studies is going to give us the ability to have this really big well of information that we can start building training from and building certification for. And again, with the effort of creating the consistency across the industry. That's really, really awesome. Steve, I know last time you volunteered to head up the advocacy group. Would love to hear anything that's happening there.
Yeah, we had a great meeting on Monday that I didn't make because my power was out, but the rest of the team was able to get together. And I think Link, you were putting some notes together. I should get those here soon. And hopefully in the next week or two, we can, at the next meeting or so, we can provide a status of kind of where we are, but have a really good team that's come together around that. And I think we're starting to organize that into some nice buckets around kind of protections as well as upskilling in several different areas. So we'll put something together and be ready to talk in more detail coming up. I did like what Lucas you just added on the accessibility pledge. I think that's a really nice area to look at as well. So I like filling out some of that.
Yeah, I love this. And Steve, I really am appreciative that you lead this. I think it's really important. I know you've been a big passionate proponent of upskilling and education and diversity in the crowd side of things. And I think that's, you guys will help us make sure we're clear, if we're really going to transform, 1 billion lives by 2025 through open talent, tools, let's, you guys have to be a part of that. And I think leading the charge on making sure we're keeping all that stuff in mind. So awesome on that. Hey guys, Eric, Alistair, I know we're meeting next week on, the business model, work group to work through some of the stuff that you guys are doing an awesome job of. Anything that you want to add now on it?
Not on my end. Go ahead, Alistair.
Nope. I'm not sure. Is Alistair still here? Maybe he's not. Maybe he dropped off. Cool. Well, that's awesome. Let's see. What else do we have? Any other comments? I know we've been throwing a lot of information at you guys today. So any thoughts, comments, guidance, anything that you guys would like to add? As we it feels like there's a lot of great movement throughout the, organization and the community. So really, really love it. Hey, John Healy, I mean, you're kind of one of the godfathers here, and you've seen it, happen for so long. I'd love to get your perspective on, where we've been, where we are, and how this is kind of shaping up. Any guideposts for us?
I just really appreciate the openness and the transparency that's happening for all the collaboration. Different people kind of pulling different parts together, and just kudos to you, John, and your team for keeping us organized and keeping it moving in a direction. And sounds like you're holding Bryan pretty accountable to a timeline. So we love those kind of things to mix the accountability into it, because I think as a group, we're headed down the right pathway to get there. I think when we get to standards, one of the things that's always there is about common acceptance of it. So my piece of encouragement for everyone here is, if there's something that you're uncomfortable with, speak up and say so. Because the more of us that can be on board and give a thumbs up when we put something out there, and can keep this community and expand and grow and amplify the size and scope of the community, the stronger we're going to be, and the quicker we're going to impact all those lives. So just keep that open, honest, and transparent communication that's been here throughout the history of this group.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Anybody else have thoughts? No? Hey, we had a kind of Brandon and I've been kind of thinking of some fun things to do. Who's been on Clubhouse? Anybody been on Clubhouse yet? Playing around on that? Yeah. What about doing a Clubhouse next? Todd, you haven't been on Clubhouse yet?
I'm on Clubhouse. Where are you?
I know. Well, I have actually, the crazy thing about Clubhouse to me was, like, I jumped on first night, 5 minutes in, and I'm scrolling through, and there's Ryan Gill from Communo. And I'm like, oh, I'll listen to this. And 2 seconds into my first experience, I hear from Ryan, hey, it's John Windsor. John, come up on the stage. What do you got to say? I had no idea what I was doing. So,
okay. Listen, if you're not on Clubhouse, everyone needs to get on Clubhouse. John, but you got to follow me, man. I mean, come on. And Andy.
So, we all would be, but it's invite only. So invite only. You guys on the in are going to have to kind of extend a little bit of love.
Steve, I'm going to send you an email. I need your phone number. I'm going to invite you. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm sending an iPhone. You got to be on an iPhone, Steve. If you're not on an iPhone. And here's a warning to everyone in the room. Seriously, this is a major time suck. I think it's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's incredible. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. nights.
It is a time suck, and that is the reason I've gotten a ton of invites now, but I'm like, I'm not going to join this.
Oh, come on, Balaji.
Mosh pit of stuff, which is all interesting, but in the end, when I go to bed, I'm like, it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So what is the true value that of this, in addition to, what is this bringing in terms of, in addition to podcasts and everything that's happening? Is it just a new format, or it's a new format?
It gives the ability for other people to get in the conversation and debate, and pick a topic. There's somebody there talking about it. Andy and I keep debating this constantly. So
I hosted an open talent room last week, and I'm completely new to it. So Eleanor and I were just messing around with it, set up an open talent room. Because we got hardly any followers, we only had 6 people there, but we had a very good conversation with those 6 people. So the more of us follow each other, the more we'll attract more attention. But I'm like I say, I'm new to it. I was a Clubhouse virgin, but it's great. I can see the potential.
Source Positive, is that you, Barry?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm following you right now. Follow back. That's the thing. Got to follow back.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Hey, so Brandon, Todd, I'm gonna solicit your help here. But let's do, because we're not having a meeting next week, let's do a Clubhouse at the same time next week. We'll organize it. It'll be this group, but then we can get a lot of other people from the community. And Balaji, I'm putting you on stage, man.
Oh yes. Listen, I'll moderate.
Okay, good. Todd's going to moderate.
I've got a lot of experience moderating already. So
all right, good, man. You're on.
I'm trying to reduce my number of things and deep work, focus, get into both states, and I'm like, Clubhouse. It feels like against everything else that we've been trying to do is to simplify our lives.
I know.
Like now it's new. So I'm sure at some point in time the wave will pick us all up. And then 90% of us will drop off, like the Pokemon phenomenon.
Right.
So we have to cap it 4 hours.
Yeah, well, let's do it. Okay, so we've got a plan here. That's awesome. That sounds good. Hey, the one thing I know, we've got a few more minutes, 12 more minutes. And one thing Chris from Top Coder, you shot me a note yesterday on the universal identity stuff, and I definitely want to, check out what's happening, what you guys are thinking about. But I don't know if you want to just preview some of your high level thinking here. We just want to hold that off until later. I mean, I love this idea of universal, identity, and I'm super psyched you guys are leading the charge and willing to share with CTW.
Yeah, I mean, we can go deep dive later on this. I threw together a high level deck, but we're building a lot of this infrastructure for Top Coder already, and we think that it could behoove the entire group to participate in it. So I'd love to see if we can get a couple interested parties that like to participate in seeing how we could move it, into the larger group, and what other people would like to use or find useful in a universal identity. We're building our mobile wallet now that holds verifiable credentials, and we've already inked some deals for the infrastructure underneath. That's all built on the Sovereign Network blockchain. So we're moving forwards. We'd like to get some consensus around general direction and how it could benefit the group. So if anybody's interested, I'd love to get like a working group together, based from people here to get ideas and show off what we got and where we could go.
That's awesome. Hey, just for those folks that aren't up to speed on universal identity, some of our conversations, you want to give the 100,000 foot view of why universal identity?
Yeah, sure. So the concept is, instead of the walled gardens of Facebook and Google and the likes that own your digital information, we invert that through the use of blockchain and cryptography to give the power back to the individual member. So they hold a wallet with their verifiable credentials, cryptographically signed. And these credentials would be shareable to whatever party that participates in this. So if you get a piece of information from Top Coder, like a rating, they can put that in their wallet and take it to another platform and share that. And it's provable identity. So if there's something like a background check or your age or whatever, we can use things like zero knowledge proofs and share that information to other parties, like other platforms, and also revoke that information as needed. So you instantly become compliant to a lot of privacy laws like GDPR and others out there through the use of these sort of a mechanism. We're very excited about it. We think it's the future of identity, and it'll enable a lot of things, a lot of trust for our members, passwordless logins, and all sorts of good stuff like that. So I think if we can settle on a sort of interoperable standard for what that credential looks like, what the verifiable container of credentials that we could share amongst the OA, I think that'll go really far to lift the tide for everybody in interoperability.
Yeah, I love that. I think it definitely ladders up to what we're thinking about on, transforming work for 1 billion people, and it goes a long way. So thanks for leading the charge there, Chris. Really appreciate your guys' effort. And I look forward, let's get something on the calendar, maybe tomorrow or on Monday, and go through the deep dive. But,
sure.
Anybody else that's interested, make sure you hit up Chris and go from there. Barry just reminded us in the chat that, on the 24th, we're doing an event. Barry, you want to kind of give a little preview on that?
Yeah, sure. It's the Global Technology and Business Services Council, which is like a global sort of amalgamation of different associations, I would say. So it's being sponsored by the UK's Global Sourcing Association, which sort of represents the outsourcing industry. And it's all about open talent and how open talent is disrupting the outsourcing industry, disrupting the consulting industry. And they've managed to get an amazing lineup of speakers, including John, like I said there, Mike Morris, Peter Quigley, the chief executive of Kelly. There's Roland from freelancer.com, Prez from Talent Alpha, Matt Matola, who's just written The Human Cloud, which is a great read, by the way, if you haven't read it already. The World Economic Forum, and there's loads. I mean, it's a really, really good lineup. I was incredibly impressed with how they've done. So it should be a good discussion. It's free. 24th, which is next Wednesday. I think it's like 2 p.m., something like that, UK time. So it might be early morning for some of you US. But yeah, come join in. It should be a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, Barry. Thanks for the invite to be a part of it. And I think it's, certainly one of the areas that we can really make a difference, right, in the outsourcing procurement side of things.
It's really starting to disrupt outsourcing. I'm seeing RFPs for outsourcing deals now coming in, which are referencing whether the suppliers themselves have got open talent options. You know, what's your consumption-based flexible open talent model? So it really is starting to disrupt the outsourcers themselves. They're taking note, and that's fueling a lot of our advisory work.
That's awesome. Really, really great stuff. Very cool. Anybody else have anything? We've got a few minutes just to kind of open the mic and let people chat about whatever. Anybody seen anything interesting out there? Balaji, I know you're deep in it, building this super cool fiefdom. Not fiefdom. Come on, man. It's way bigger than a fiefdom. It's like the global change mechanism, the machine.
Yeah,
what are you seeing? What are you thinking?
I think things are going. I don't think I haven't seen any significant events that change the trajectory of what's going on. What Barry just said, that if people are asking for open talent capabilities in RFPs, is a huge shift, because now you're making open talent like a parameter to win something, and then I think that changes it from a nice to have to a must have. And it's either then it becomes the question, and Barry and I spent time talking about it last week as well. I think the scale for freelancing marketplaces is to compete with outsourcing and offshoring. So then maybe the path that Barry could be driving to is potentially, is it a collaboration? Like what is the relationship between a mega global offshoring company with a mega global freelancing company? What does an alliance look like? What does a common talent pool look like? Like when Wipro acquired Topcoder, there is now a hybrid model that was created. What is the hybrid model? Let's say if freelancer.com has a outsourcing relationship with, I don't know, whoever is the biggest outsourcing / offshoring company. And I think those types of things, if those happen, then I think it's a huge step change in the freelancing marketplaces. And it also gives them an opportunity to solve hundreds of millions of dollars worth of problems versus millions of dollars worth of problems. Barry, any thoughts on, is that where you think that the marketplace is moving to? Are they going to compete? Should they collaborate? What is our role in making a choice or helping?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point, and these are exactly the conversations that are going on. So if you look across the TCS, Infosys, Cognizant, HCL, they are all now trying to work out what their strategy is to use open talent. It's both an opportunity and a challenge. I believe they will all have some form of relationship with open talent platforms. Some will build their own and some will partner. But like you say, imagine a freelancer and TCS coming together in the same way that a Wipro and a Topcoder did, 4 or 5 years ago. So it's going to be, I think, a game changer to the outsourcing and consulting industry. And it's a bit of a race. The big ones have started. And it will be interesting to see who moves first. I think we'll see acquisitions. We'll definitely see partnerships, a bit like the Deloitte Expify model, but even on a much larger scale. It's going to be super interesting, which is why I really like the sort of outsourcing and open talent combination. Just is such an interesting one.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think thanks, Barry, for sharing that. And Balaji, always love your point of view on things. Anybody else have anything to add today?
I just had a question that I posted in the chat, kind of a side question related to all of this, but somewhat related. Are there open source platforms or open talent platforms that I can kind of refer to those serving, indigent clients, blue collar workers, veterans, kind of lower level when we're not talking about tech, when we're not talking about in this type of industry? So anything that anyone can refer, that would be great. So I can kind of pass that along.
Yeah, it's a good question.
There's dozens of them. Just give me a shout. I got a list of several hundred.
Okay, and then again, because I didn't get your slide fast enough, can you share your contact in the chat?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, great question. Anybody else? Hey, Eric, let's, you and I had a great conversation last week on just, or I guess a few days ago, just on the, the economy and what's happening, and, any thoughts on, the broader implications economically of, what you're seeing, open talent, not only fitting into the world, but, obviously some of the players that are public, the stocks have run up so much. And I mean, what's happening on the financial side of the world?
Sure. This comment may age very poorly, so I know we're being recorded, but I would say, I remember publishing, I never give investment advice as a rule, but I remember publishing in March, which I'm sure everyone remembers fondly, saying, never sell into a panic. And remember that the stock market is always volatile, and the world seemed like it was ending in 2008. And turns out that would have been a great buying opportunity. So I'm not saying buy, but I'm saying do not, put this, do not take this as more than just algorithms in the financial world reacting to other algorithms. I think now we're seeing something of the opposite. We're seeing the markets get higher than many people are comfortable with. And I would like to just offer kind of the mirror image reverse of that, saying markets, just as you should not panic when they get scarily down, you should not, well, for one thing, you should not get sloppy when they seem to be always going up. But you also should not let fear in that sense of what if tomorrow this stops affect your strategy, neither as a business nor as a person. And so I would say to all of you, just as I said in March, take the markets for what they are, think long-term. I would say the same applies in moments like this where we're all wondering, what are they doing? What I will say that's more directly relevant to this is that I was telling John, I had an interesting call with some of the people I respect the most in the securities markets a few days ago. And this is the part of the comment that may age poorly, where we were talking about this, like what's the S&P doing? And the best, other than the fact that interest rates are zero and so much money is piling into equities, what we all were thinking was, maybe it's partly that the markets are also recognizing the fact that after crises, there often are sustained economic expansions, sometimes very painful ones in terms of reshuffling. And as we've all discussed, it's our job to make sure those who need to reskill, upskill, are afforded the best ways to do so. But there's no way around the data that after crises like this, pandemics, wars, you do often see an economic boom, precisely because they unleash new technologies, they unleash new ways of thinking, they throw out old assumptions. And in this case, they're breaking down the frictions to human potential in so many respects, because now people can work more remotely and companies can source talent more openly. So we were thinking, the one most rational explanation we can offer, other than just the interest rates thing, is the markets may be pricing that in to a certain extent. They may realize like the tremendous amount of innovation is going to come forth from all of this. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not predicting what the markets will do tomorrow. I never would. But I think that that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. And I think it's not as silly as it sounds, because I think that someone on this call actually was the one who said that every executive they've spoken to said last year that what was a 10-year plan became a 1-year plan in terms of technological implementation and many other changes that needed to be made. So last year was in many respects the readjusting. Hopefully, assuming no surprises, this next year and the next 10 years will be in many respects the bearing fruit of that. So just some random financial economist commentary to end this. Again, not investment advice, and hopefully, so yeah.
That's awesome, Eric. Yeah, it's always good to kind of keep an eye on the kind of the context of the work we're doing, everybody's doing. I know it's 11, so it's 11 here, 11:02. I really appreciate everybody being on the call. Thanks for being here. Todd, I'm looking forward to your host of the Clubhouse next week.
Oh yeah, let's do this. This will be fun.
It's gonna rock. Love you guys. Thanks again for taking an hour out of your week to be with us, and all the great momentum. Thanks to everybody who presented today and all the good momentum. So we'll talk soon. Take care.
Stay safe.
Follow me on Clubhouse.